Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over two different educational articles dealing with what I call the post-divorce carousel riding phenomenon. And in these two articles, guys, it's about two different women who were married for a bit, got divorced, and let's just say they, to put it mildly, were enjoying themselves afterwards. Full-blown carousel riding adventure. And I'm doing this, guys, I think it's pretty interesting how, again, in today's world, how it's being conditioned where you're not a free, empowered woman unless you pretty much are hooking up with every dude in town. And in this story here, there's going to be two articles. The first one's about a woman in New York, and after years of marriage, husband cheats on her, it ends, and, you know, understandably, she obviously was hurt by that. But it is full-blown Sex in the City adventures for her, as you're going to see where she lives. The second article is a woman who is same kind of deal, except for her, it's all over the world. Different dudes all over the world. And this isn't just a case of, you know, getting back on the horse and dating. This is literally for the sake of having dudes and experiences, dudes left and right, sometimes in the middle of the day, etc., etc. The type of behavior that you hear typically from the 20s, the girls in the 20s in college and all that. So it's pretty interesting. So the first one, the title is What I Learned from Sleeping with 8 Men in a Year After My Messy Divorce at 47 Years Old. Oh, and by the way, a big shout out to Kerry for sending me this article. He sent me this article, and this is definitely a good one, and then I found another one that was related I thought I'd do. It says here, Laura Williams was living her dream life. 3 children, a devoted husband, a Manhattan apartment, and a country house. When her husband dropped the bomb that he was having an affair, the confession came out of left field. The pair had known each other since college and had been married for 22 years. She says here that our sex life wasn't great anymore. There wasn't really any passion between us, but I expected that, says Williams, who adds that she had anticipated growing old beside her ex. She promptly ordered him out of the house, began divorce proceedings, and 5 months later was dating again, making up for lost time. Well, if this is accurate and he was cheating on her, full-blown affair, I can't blame her for being pissed. I can't blame her for kicking him out and all that. That's not cool. It goes both ways. But watch what happens next. She says here, I was 47 years old and I expected to be with the same man for the rest of my life, recalls Williams, now 51 years old and living in. As she began picking up the pieces of her shattered life, she saw an opportunity. Because she never really dated in her 20s, she wanted to make up for lost time. She downloaded Tinder. Of all things, chose Tinder. Tinder is a cesspool. Accepted blind dates and uncovered a part of her personality she had hidden for decades. That's one way to put it. She says, you now have the freedom to do whatever you want, Williams told the Post about her revelation. If you want to sleep with 2 men on the same day, you can. If you want to have a tryst in the middle of the day, you're free. The only person who can judge you is yourself. And if you're fine with it, screw everyone else. Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0, guys. Again, it's one thing to get back on the horse and date, but you can tell here it's doing this just for the sake of doing it. It goes on, and for a year, that's what she did, hopping in bed with 8 men, which she chronicles in her memoir, Available, newly out in paperback release. You ever notice all these gals, they get divorced, they do this thing, and then they got to write a book about it. And then this is going to give other women the same idea, and they're going to do the same thing. Some of her trysts were afternoons of toe-curling lust on a high-thread count hotel sheets. There was a midnight booty call where she headed to a man's apartment wearing only a silk robe under an oversized puffer jacket. An older man obsessed with oral, the well-endowed paramour who invited her for a Wednesday afternoon lunch followed by a quickie. But she also had a few misses. She recalls one date where a man invited her to come to Brooklyn for a midday cafe meetup. He met her at a Subway and invited her back to his place for a cup of coffee. After a round of Folgers, the pair fell into bed together. After round 1, the man quickly requested round 2, which she accepted. While the sex was sober and consensual, Williams realized she had sex with him because he'd been fitting into the nice PTA mom version of herself, the woman who would always say yes, even if she wasn't entirely into the idea. Yeah, well, it sounds like she's had no problem saying yes all along here. And the way this is described here, I'm guessing this is partially like giving an FU to the husband, some way, somehow, because this to me seems reckless. And so for you guys out there that are dating relationships and all that, and let's just say you get involved with or you start dating a divorced woman, keep in mind, you gotta be careful. Make sure you wear that protection, because she could be one of these types that's going all out. And so with lots and lots to do, so just be careful if that's what you do. But this also goes to show, guys, she was 47 when she got divorced, and there's pictures of her in this article. And it goes to show you, as I've been telling you all along, a woman who's above average for what she's considered to be above average for her age or whatever, she can hold a sign and say, free you know what, and there'll be dudes a mile long ready to hook up with her. That's just how it is. And this gal here is like 50 years old. And so this goes to show, you can have a woman in her 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and as long as guys, beauty in the eye of the beholder, find her attractive enough, no problem. Right here. So it says a lot about us as well, let's be honest. Williams also found time in bed with a man to be a great crash course in understanding what makes guys tick. Pillow talk for Williams could be a rapid-fire slew of questions. What do you like about this? How do you feel about this? Because I missed out on knowing that, and I wanted to understand adult men. If she doesn't understand adult men by 50 years old, I don't know what to tell her. We're pretty obvious to figure out, pretty easy to figure out. She also felt like dating midlife for her was a superpower. I didn't buy into the theory that because I was older, I was less desirable. Men were very attracted to the fact that I was a strong woman who didn't want anything from them and was calling the shots, explains Williams. That's not why they were attracted to you. They were attracted to you because you were on the rebound and you wanted to hook up left and right and have quickies in the middle of the day, or two different dudes in one day or whatever. And so they're like, no problem. Not because you're strong or empowered or any nonsense like that. Keep telling yourself that, honey. That's not what it is. It's pretty easy to figure out. But being a middle-aged mom also meant balancing orgasms with babysitting schedules. If I was having a good day and a man would kiss me goodbye, I would tell them, okay, I have 2 hours. Let's go back to your place, recalls Williams. She says some men were surprised by her forthrightness, but many appreciated her no BS approach to love and lust. Again, it wasn't that she's strong and empowered or anything like that or calling the shots. They just liked that she was like, hey, let's go back and hook up. And they're like, no problem. Today, Williams has found herself in a relationship, but she is reluctant to label it as such. She says, I've gotten attached to someone, but I still hold out the openness to say, if I want to have a one-nighter with someone, I could still do that. Translation, I want an open relationship. You think about pair bonding and all that? There you go. She also wants other women to realize just how much pleasure is out there and how sex can be a powerful tool for moving past heartbreak. Ding, ding, ding. I think part of this is kind of revenge, if you ask me. She says, the sex was important to me. It made me feel alive when I felt dead inside. I found strength that I didn't know that I had. I also found openness and S-word curiosity that I didn't ever in a million years imagine I was capable of. Well, I think that was her way of dealing with it, and she probably very much enjoyed the attention and validation, because that's, let's be honest, most of what it is. But like I said, it's one thing to get back on your horse. She got back on a lot of horses. And, rebuild, because she was cheated on and all that, so I can understand that wasn't her fault. But it's another thing to do what these college gals are now doing, that now they got to be strong and empowered and hook with every dude in Manhattan. And again, it's not like looking for another guy, it's purely just next. This is the world we're in. So for you guys that end up dating divorced women, be aware that if you want some fun, it probably shouldn't be too hard. But also be careful. You don't want to catch anything. Now here's another one. The title of this article is called Eat, Pray, Make Love. Why you absolutely must have shameless sex after your divorce. This starts off, says, he was 19, I was 34. It was another drunken wild night in Thailand, and I got it in my recently divorced head that the only way to prove that I still had it was to get him into bed. Well, I definitely still had it, as of all the hostel could attest to the next morning. Apparently, our 2 a.m. tryst in the common area of the hostel hasn't been private as we thought. I never thought I'd be the hottest sex gossip, but then my post-divorce life was definitely anything but expected. Yes, I cried and wept, but what really made me heal was sex, a lot of it, and I loved it. See, here's another one. And she was wondering, do I still have it? Well, again, like I'm saying, she's 34. Okay, not too far from the 20s, which are the prime. And like I said, above average, hold up a sign, free you know what, not that hard. Doesn't make you have a superpower doesn't make you the hottest girl in town. It's just that guys are guys. At 33 years old, I had recently been married for just over 9 years. The sex with my husband was good, not amazing, but I had nothing to compare it to since I entered the marriage as a virgin. I was content. But 5 years ago into our marriage, he began to make better love to the liquor bottle than me. I blamed myself for 4 more years, but I finally realized that I would always come second to alcohol. I did something I had always considered unthinkable. I asked for a divorce. Okay, if he's an alcoholic, I got no problem with that. Trust me, I got a big issue with alcoholics and drug addicts and all that. But now she's on the carousel riding adventure because that's what our society has conditioned the gals to think you gotta do to be empowered. It seems ridiculous to me. Newly single, I knew I'd be lonely, but I couldn't begin to comprehend the depth of loneliness that I would feel or how it would translate into an S-word craving that I didn't seem able to fully control. Perhaps I was rebounding. Or perhaps I was just fully living my life for the first time. I wasn't ready to process the reason of it. Okay, I get she's lonely. And again, back to getting on the horse. Dating. Not every dude in town for the sake of it, but hers is different. It's every dude around the world. As I knew was that I needed to get away, and Southeast Asia seemed like the perfect place to spend 7 months escaping divorce reality and the arms of as many men as possible. There you go. Travel provided an international buffet of men, and I was heaping up my plate and going back for seconds. My first guy was an Irish lad on the sultry beaches of Thailand who lured me into the incredibly heady promise of, I bet you never been properly effed. He was right on that account, but his incredibly small you-know-what and 30-second performance failed to back up that claim. Ouch. And then there was that lanky, long-haired Australian guy that shared my bunk space on the train to Mumbai. I still get hot and bothered just thinking about him. I quickly set my sights on seduction, suggesting we share a room to save money. He definitely knew his way around down under. After him, I gave myself a Belgian for my birthday. Let me just tell you, it was a very impressive present, and he worked long and hard on the delivery. And then there was, oh wait, I really shouldn't divulge every male conquest, as that would make a very, very long blog. See what I'm talking about here? Now notice how if guys would do this type of thing, they were considered to be pigs, right? But again, bad divorce, fair enough, he was an alcoholic, and she was feeling lonely, but let's be honest, again, nowadays you can't be empowered unless you adapt the carousel lifestyle, and also the fact that, attention and validation. Goes on, my S-word freedom gave me sensual pleasure, but also gave me courage. Well, if it gave you courage, then how can you argue with that, huh? But during my S-word post-divorce journey, for the first time in my life, I discovered my own boundaries. Doesn't sound like she has a whole lot of boundaries to me. I claimed what I wanted and disregarded what I didn't. I gave myself permission to make choices and not be attached to the outcome. My S-word freedom gave me sensual pleasure, but it also gave me courage. I made mistakes too. Alcohol, travel, loneliness, and sex don't always mix well. I found myself slipping out of a few too many rooms early in the morning with only a hazy recollection of the nights before. I became part of a drunken three-something in northern Thailand, of which I quickly realized I did not want to partake in and had to make an awkward exit. As a divorcee and travel coach, I met women who are ashamed of their post-divorce S-word journey. But sex is not something to be ashamed of. Women should embrace their sexuality, especially if their sex lives were non-existent in their marriage. Again, it's one thing if it's dating and meeting a guy you like and occasionally, but this, she's doing it for the sake of, because that's what's conditioned in today's world. I know I keep coming back to this, but again, welcome to Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0, and this is the post-divorce carousel phenomenon here. She says, call me a SLUT, but I'd rather be called S-word freedom, seeker and explorer, or pioneer. The latter being only if I slept with someone really, really interesting. Remember when Britney Spears went off the deep end and shaved her head and went into rehab? That was the year she divorced, and she did some crazy stuff. I think the same thing happens to us, but with a lot less media attention. We do dangerous shit, drink too much, and sleep with as many people as we can. It's our Britney year, and it's the rite of passage into normalcy. I call complete bullshit on that, but again, you guys that date divorced gals, it may be an easy lay, but be careful, wear protection, because Lord knows how many dudes they're with trying to get even with their husbands or live up to being empowered. Following my 7-month journey, I was calmer, clarified, and finally at peace. Had I been sucked into the paradigm of being a shameful SLUT, I would have never discovered me. I don't know if she should be using the word sucked, given the what she's talking about here. Sure, men go on the same post-divorce sexual journey, but I doubt they feel guilty or slutty because of it. So neither should women. Not because men don't, but because sex can be a tool for rediscovery and healing. Number one, guys can't nearly have the numbers that your average gal can have for obvious reasons. That a good-looking guy, a guy who's like a 9 or 10 looks department can get women, don't get me wrong. But he can't hide up a sign saying free D. He's not going to get a line of women if he says free D. He can get some. But just an average chick can hold up a sign saying free P, 5 city blocks of dudes, whether they want to admit it or not. So it's not quite the same. It says here, so ladies, if you're going to become a S-word freedom seeker, do not feel guilty. Embrace it, be safe, love yourself first. Now go get laid. So gentlemen, this is today's world. This is Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world. No freaking joke here. So be careful out there. This is how it is. It's just amazing to me. And again, it's one thing, you're rebuilding, getting back to dating, all that, but it's no longer dating is, so to speak, to find another great person. It is to simply just, well, everybody else is doing it. It's being promoted in all these books and magazines and shows, so I got to go out there with every dude in town or every dude from a different country or something like that. Like I said, post-divorced carousel writing phenomenon. All right, guys, that is it for today's quick one, but that'll be a pretty entertaining one to go over to show you again the mindset and the attitude is out there in today's world. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you come across a really good article that you'd like me to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Or if you got a great personal story you'd like to share, you know all the types of stories that guys send me, email it to me. Just give me time and I'll get there. And just make sure you write out really easy for me to read. That's key. Otherwise, if it's all jammed together, I can't do it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.